So it looks like we're getting a new Collect and Connect wave from DC Multiverse based on the Blackest Night storyline. But is this one a good wave of characters, and is it worth your money? Be sure you stick around until the end, soulmates, because we're going to talk about what storyline we'd love to see a Collect and Connect wave of next. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. Blackest Night is a crossover storyline based mostly around Green Lantern that took place around 2009 to 2010. So at this point, it's a fairly old story, though not super old. Needless to say, we saw some pretty cool character designs in that storyline, and now they're represented here in DC Multiverse. The first action figure we're going to look at today is Black Lantern Superman, a reanimated corpse version of Superman that looks pretty cool. Is it 100% accurate to what we see in the comics? Not 100%. The first thing I notice is that there's one detail conspicuously missing, a little band coming off the center of his S insignia that should be going down the middle of his neck, but it's not here on the action figure. The really odd thing is that they didn't actually forget it. It is sculpted on his body where it should be. It's just not painted silver for some reason. So in terms of sculpt, this toy is 100% accurate. The little ring on his stomach is present, the S insignia is shaped correctly, the bands on his forearms are all asymmetrical as they should be, and there's little bands extending from his abdomen down to his thighs, which is also correct. As far as the head sculpt goes, there's a few different depictions of how Superman looked during that storyline that vary from normal-ish looking all the way to really decomposed, and this one is somewhere in between. If I were to change one thing on this action figure besides the obvious unpainted band on his insignia, it would be the cape, because I feel like there should be larger strips than there are. It feels a little small to me compared to what I've seen from the Blackest Night art. If they fix the band before they release this and paint it correctly, I'm going to say that this one is an absolute must-have. Otherwise, you might want to think about it and wait until it's on sale to get it. Next one up is Deathstorm, which is Firestorm taken host by a Black Lantern ring, and this is another one where they absolutely nailed the sculpt. However, unlike Superman, it looks like this one has all of its paint apps done perfectly. It doesn't look like there's a single design element out of place on Deathstorm. This is one of those action figures that you can look at and say, yeah, this one might be an S tier. The one thing that did strike me though is that in some art Deathstorm doesn't have boots, and in other art he does have boots. So he does have boots here, and I don't think it's wrong. I really enjoy the head sculpt on Deathstorm. I think it's one of the best DC Multiverse head sculpts I've ever seen. And I also enjoy that the hands are getting better on DC Multiverse figures, because the one hand has a grip, like he's going to hold his lantern, and the other hand has a nice pose on it, so it doesn't feel like anything's wasted here. And finally, the design on his chest is top-notch stuff. This has got to be a day one purchase for me because I am absolutely in love with this action figure. Next up is Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, and personally, I am so excited to have a Kyle Rayner action figure. Kyle Rayner is my Green Lantern. That said, this is not my favorite version of Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern costume. I like the one that he's most famous for better, the one that he wore throughout most of his series. But this one is pretty accurate to his Blackest Night costume, and they did a pretty good job here. The costume from the storyline is actually pretty plain, so they embellished it with some textures to make it feel like there's a thread count on it. And another thing that's really cool is that he comes with a Green Lantern construct sword, and he comes with a lantern. The one thing I don't like about this action figure, of course, is the head sculpt, because he seems a little too happy for what's going on, I think. It's not even a bad head sculpt, really. It does look like Kyle Rayner. It just doesn't fit the vibe. I'm still gonna get this one because I totally love Kyle Rayner, and this is a really good action figure. And that brings us to Batman. No one by this point should really be surprised to see Batman in a DC Multiverse wave, because guess what sells the most in DC Multiverse? It's Batman, but of course Batman is a big part of this storyline. How does this stack up to what we see from the comics though? Well, it looks like another very accurate sculpt. I tried to find a single flaw on this one, and I couldn't find it. The bat insignia on his chest looks right, and the insignia within the insignia looks good. The bands extend from his stomach to his thighs just the way they're supposed to. The boots and the gauntlets look right. They're segmented, and they have those little blades like they're supposed to on the edges. And Batman's face is appropriately decaying, and his ears are even the right length. His cape looks all torn and tattered. Guys, this is another great action figure. The only flaw that I think I could find on this one is that I think the utility belt is too much the same tone as the rest of his body. I think it would have been better if they had painted this more of a light blue on the utility belt, just to give it some more separation from all the gray on the body. This is another action figure I look at, and I am just so impressed by the leaps and bounds with which McFarlane Toys has improved the sculpt of their hands, because this one, they look so unique, they don't look boring at all. And of course, the final action figure in this wave is the Build-A-Figure Atrocitus, and he is a beast. This is an awesome translation of the character from the comics, and they even took the liberty of taking Kyle Rayner's texture and putting it on Atrocitus's body. And you know what? That extra texture adds so much to this because it contrasts nicely with the armor bits of his costume. And the head sculpt on this one is absolutely terrifying. This is Atrocitus. And guys, I can't find any flaws on it. I think this is another one that McFarlane Toys has absolutely nailed. I can tell already just looking at the wave that this has to be one of the top 3 waves McFarlane Toys has ever done for DC Multiverse. Well, Soulmates, now that we've gotten Blackest Night, what storyline would you like to see a Collect and Connect wave of next? Personally, I'd like to see a Kingdom Come wave with an older Superman and perhaps a Collect and Connect of Magog, or however his name is pronounced, honestly, but I would just love to see Kingdom Come done. Well, Soulmates, what do you think of this wave? Is this the greatest DC Multiverse Collect and Connect wave ever? Or is it just good, or maybe you don't like it at all for some reason? Or are you kind of on the fence? What do you guys think? I would love to hear from you down in the comments, and let me know what storyline you'd love to see made next. If you'd like to learn more about the previous storyline that was made into a Collect and Connect wave, you can check out my Endless Winter video here.